Hi everyone, this is Migs from Sentimental Pairs, and today we'll actually be taking a look at my entire sneaker collection. Before we get started, if you do like this video, please make sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Then if you have any comments, questions, or any suggestions for future videos, please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below as well. Then I'll also be leaving a link to the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group in the description box. So I do hope that you're able to join us over there because we do talk about sneakers and basketball quite a bit, and it's also where I hold my monthly giveaways. Then if you haven't already, please make sure to sub to the channel because it really does help us out quite a lot. First off, I'd like to thank everyone because it is the 1-year anniversary from when I first started the YouTube channel. Definitely was a challenge, but I do thank everyone who subscribed to the channel, who watches my videos, everyone who likes the videos, shares them, and leaves their comments, because you've all made this first year on YouTube very worth it. I did ask in the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group what they wanted me to do for the anniversary, and most of the people that responded wanted me to showcase my sneaker collection, and it's definitely not the best on YouTube, so I'm not gonna put that in the title. But in my own opinion, I do think I have a pretty good collection, and it definitely showcases a lot of basketball history, which is definitely what this channel is all about. Over on this side is my sort of GOAT wall, so you have my Jordans, my LeBrons, and my Kobes. But we will actually start in the other room, and that's actually where my brother kind of does his like streaming and his gaming. So with that being said, I'll meet you there. Okay, so this is Future Migs from SNBPH, and I actually totally forgot to announce the giveaway. So for the giveaway, all you have to do is to name your top 3 sneakers from my collection in the comment section, and also include a link to your Facebook profile or Instagram username. The winner of the giveaway will be able to decide if they want a pair of Kyrie 7s, a pair of Zion 1s, a pair of Dame 7s, or a pair of PG 5s in their size. So once again, all you have to do is to drop your top 3 shoes from my sneaker collection in the comment section down below. So with that being said, on with the video. Hi everyone, so we are in the other room, so you can see this wall behind me. These are mostly my Hardens, my Currys. You have some Paul Georges, you have some Kyries, then you have some of my double or triple up pairs, and then we also have another wall over there, and we have a few over here. So I'll probably just start from the bottom and work my way up. So I'll start off with my bottom row, and first we have the Why Not 01, which is Russell Westbrook's first signature shoe. I really love playing in this shoe, and you can actually see it. It is pretty worn down. Just a really good shoe in my opinion. It has full length zoom, and it has this really nice orange in this cotton shot colorway, which is definitely why I kept these after all these years. Then this bottom row isn't particularly in order, so the next one would be the Why Not 04, and this is the one that he's wearing this season. He averaged a triple-double once again, which is the 4th time in 5 seasons. Definitely a pretty good shoe to play in, and the colorway I got is really crazy, so I do like that. The only thing I don't like is the outsole is already yellowing. I mean, this is a pretty new shoe, and I only used it like twice. So you know, whatever they're doing with their translucent outsoles over at Jordan Brand, I really hope they fix that. Then I also have the Dawn issue number 2 in this sort of leopard colorway, and this isn't the best colorway for sure. I mean, this is already heavily discounted, but it was kind of my fault because I got the wrong size in the Spidey Sense colorway. I ended up selling those, and the shoe is pretty okay on court. It's just, you know, when you stack it up against the other shoes, it doesn't really match up well. Then for the next shoe, we actually have the Nike Zoom GT Cut, and it's in this black colorway. I would have rather had the white colorway, but this was the first one that released here in the Philippines, and this is definitely a front runner for shoe of the year. It's super nice, and you feel hella fast when you're playing in it, so definitely a really good shoe. Then onto the next shoe, you actually have the New Balance Omnis from New Balance, which was the reintroduction into the basketball shoe market, and this colorway is really nice. I didn't really plan on getting this colorway, but when I went in store, it kind of popped out at me, which is why I went with this one. And the Omnis is a really good basketball shoe, and it was very surprising that, you know, New Balance was out of the game for so long, and they came back really strong with a superb basketball shoe. Then for the next shoe, we have the Nike Air Max 90 by You, and this is the colorway I made in honor of my mom. So she did sadly pass away because of breast cancer last year, so I made this in all pink, sort of like a Kayao or a Aunt Pearl colorway, and it's definitely a shoe that means a lot to me, so I'm definitely never letting this go. Then for the next shoe, we actually have the N1 Tai Chi in the white and red colorway, which is the one Vince Carter used in the 2001 dunk contest. And I was really happy when I found these at a really good price because I couldn't find these anywhere. And I mean, in my opinion, it's just such an iconic shoe. When you think of the dunk contest, you think of Vince Carter's dunks, and you think of these shoes on his feet. They're also surprisingly pretty comfy underfoot, so, you know, that's a definite plus. Then for the next shoe, we have something that just recently retroed. So here you have the Adidas T-Mac 2 in the Orlando Magic Home colorway. The only thing I don't really like is that it makes your foot look really puffy because that ankle is just super padded. But it does feel pretty comfy once you have your foot in, and definitely one of the best looking T-Macs in my opinion. Then for the next shoe, we have something that, you know, I was kind of just lucky to chance upon for below retail. And that would be the Adapt BB 1.0 in the Air Mag inspired colorway. The Nike Adapt shoes did have quite a bit of hype before, and you know, even though the hype is kind of dying down now, this colorway in my opinion is definitely the best one that they came out with. Shout out to Cop Garden because they did upload this for sale on their Instagram, and I was able to scoop these up for way below retail. I definitely like these over the 2.0s because they fit my foot a lot better, and the materials are softer. Then moving up to the next shoe, we have the New Balance Kawaii. My shoe boxes, I just kind of need to replace some of these. As you will notice later, the shoe boxes here in this room are different from the ones I have in the other room. And that's because I'm really not satisfied with these Sunnywear shoe boxes because the covers kind of get ruined quite easily. So anyway, going back to this, you have the New Balance Kawaii, and this was the launch colorway. I actually went in-store during the pandemic to get these, and there definitely was a little bit of fanfare because everyone was excited for Kawaii to have a signature shoe. But just for me, it was pretty disappointing on court because the fit never really was for me, and it also feels really heavy, especially when you compare it to the Omnis one. Then for the next shoe, this isn't actually a basketball sneaker, but it is one of my favorite shoes to just go to the gym and just go walking, and it's the Ultra Boost 2020. I actually got this on sale, and my colorway is the Sydney colorway from the City Pack, and I just like the way it has an all blue upper, and it has that little split from the white to the blue. Definitely a super comfy shoe. I mean, it's not as plush as the Ultra Boost 1.0, but it's definitely better suited for performance. Then moving on to here on the shelves, you actually have quite a few shoes, and the reason why they're here is because some of them don't really fit into my shoe boxes. And the first shoe we have on the shelves is the Why Not 02. So this was Russell Westbrook's second signature shoe, and both me and my brother really like this shoe. It has that unlocked zoom in the forefoot. It does look a bit puffy and heavy, but when you put these on your feet and you really start playing, you actually feel super responsive and pretty fast. Then moving on, we have beside it the Anta GH2. So big shout out once again to Gio of Unorthodox because he did hook me up with these at a pretty good price. And I really do like this Chinese New Year colorway because they really did it justice. I mean, look at all of the details, look at that gold, all of that red. It's just a really nice colorway, and I think the Anta GH2 is a pretty solid basketball shoe as well. Then moving on to the end of this shelf, you actually have the Adidas Quantum Basketball, but this is actually the lifestyle version without that Kerem upper, and I don't really think it makes that much of a difference because I did try playing basketball in these, and they were actually pretty good. You have a full-length boost midsole and herringbone traction pattern, and those two things really do work well on the shoe. It is a pretty odd-looking basketball shoe, but I really do enjoy playing in these, so take that for what you will. Then moving on to the second row, you actually have the Dawn issue number 1, and this is the original Spider-Man colorway. I really worked hard to save up for this when I was in college, so definitely a really special shoe in my opinion. I actually was close to selling it, but then my mom was like, didn't you like save up for that and didn't you really enjoy it, so why sell it? So I took her word for it, and I don't regret holding on to this because it is a pretty nice looking shoe, and I do like the Spider-Man theme on all of Donovan Mitchell's shoes. They're also pretty underrated on court. I mean, I really did enjoy this, and they are pretty beat because I use these a lot. Then beside that, we actually have our last Why Not Zero something. It's the Why Not 03. This is definitely for me the one I like the least. I mean, it has a weird strap, and as you will find out, I'm not really a fan of straps. That's a nice colorway though, and I like the story of this one. This was actually meant to honor his late friend, and I always like when players do that because it gives a little bit more of a story to their sneakers. Didn't really enjoy playing in these because the fit was quite sloppy and the traction wasn't the best. Then beside the Why Not 03, we actually have the World Balance B69, and World Balance is a Filipino brand, and they actually collaborated with Big Boy Cheng and Secret Fresh on this one. And it is a pretty cool looking shoe. I'm not really sure if I'm gonna keep these, but I have worn them a few times, just not as much as I thought I would. Best detail for sure would be that sort of bronze camo. And here we have the B69. So they actually have a new collaboration on the way. I think they're calling it the ketchup and mustard collab or something like that, but I do like this better. Then I'll see if I can reach the top. So this is the last row of shelves. Here we have the Nike Air Max 2090. I was gonna sell this shoe, but my brother stopped me because it actually is pretty comfy, and it is wide foot friendly because he has a wider foot than I do. So if you are a wide footer and you want a comfy Air Max shoe to just casually walk around in, this is definitely a pretty good option, and they are discounted right now because, you know, not a lot of people bought these at SRP. Then beside that, on the edge of the top shelf, we actually have the Nike Adapt 2.0, and this is in the regular black colorway, and I think this was also the launch colorway. These are pretty discounted now, so you can kind of get them for $40 below the retail. So with that being said, I'm not sure if they'll come out with an Adapt 3.0, but you know, we'll just have to wait and see. I didn't really enjoy the fit on this one as much as I did the 1.0, and it also feels a little heavier, which is kind of weird because this was the second version and I thought that they would address that issue, but they just didn't. Okay, so I think we're done with this part and the shelves, so we will just scoot over to the other side. So here we have this wall, and if you are wondering why there's like boxes without any covers on them, it's because the shoes are too long. So when I bought these kind of shoe boxes, they said that they were good until size 11, and I do wear a true size 10. It's just that there are some shoes that seem pretty long because maybe they have foam sticking out at the back, or you know, they have like really aggressive rubber that kind of protrudes out, so that's kind of why they don't fit. So the first pair here is my pair of Converse Chuck Taylors. This was a gift from my girlfriend, and I really like this shoe because sentimental reasons, and it's also the Converse Chuck 70, so it's also one of the more comfortable Converse Chuck Taylors. Really nice colorway. It looks super good, especially now in the summer. You know, just throw on some nice shorts, a pretty basic tee, and you're gonna have a pretty good look. Then on the next one, we do have something that has a little bit of sentimental meaning, even though it's pretty beat. So these are my gray or wolf gray pair of LeBron 16s, and the reason why these are special is because I was on my on-the-job training in the province, and my mom actually went to Titan to buy me these and send them over, and you know, she pulled a lot of strings to be able to send these over because I did work in a pretty far-flung place, so definitely just some mother's love. Then over here we do have another pretty special pair of shoes. So these are the Hardens BE2s, I think, or the Hardens BE1. I think this is the Hardens BE1. And there is a little bit of paint cracking. I didn't notice that. So the reason why these are special is because they actually have some signatures. So I watched a PBA game and my mom actually had some of the players sign it. So that's the reason why I still have this pair. I don't really use it because it wasn't like the best. I mean, the traction was pretty good. Not really much else stands out about the shoe, but it does have those signatures that my mom helped me get. So that's the reason why it's still in my collection. And then the next one is a shoe that I haven't gotten to use yet because of the whole pandemic. And these are my Nike Bayou football cleats. They are very orange, so I think it's kind of, you know, lighting up the screen. But if you don't know, orange is my favorite color, so I wanted to get myself some orange cleats. I was either gonna play Ultimate Frisbee or like play flag football in these, but you know, pandemic happened, and I just hope that I can get to use these soon because they have just been sitting in my closet. So on to the next shoe, and it is a pretty special pair as well. And they are my Nike Cortezes in the Forest Gump colorway. And these are pretty special because I bought my girlfriend a pair of these, and I actually like saw a flash sale wherein they also had the men's sizes. So I really do love these shoes, and they are really comfortable as well. They look good with shorts. And of course, that added bonus that me and my girlfriend have matching shoes. Then for the next shoe, we have my other pair of Vince Carter shoes, and these are the Shox BB4s. These are in the Olympic colorway, and these are the ones he used to jump over that 7'2" French guy. He destroyed his life. Like, jeez. I don't really know how he did that with these, because these are just very heavy, very bulky as well, and they aren't comfy at all. So I don't know if any of you have tried the Shox basketball shoes. Please comment down below, because these were definitely bricks on your feet. Then for the next one, we have the Adidas D-Rose 1, and this is the concrete colorway. This is actually a pretty nice shoe. You have synthetic suede all throughout in this sort of light gray. The D-Rose 1 is a shoe with probably zero cushion. You're probably as close to the ground as you can be. It has pretty okay traction. Then the fit isn't as nice as I would like it to be, but it was kind of made to accommodate an ankle brace, because Derrick Rose always used to wear one. So I guess this shoe is perfect if you're a guard that likes that low to the ground feel and you also wear an ankle brace. My favorite detail of this shoe is this red part here with the roses on the medial side, because it's pretty much the only pop of color that we have on the shoe. Then moving up, we have my first double pair. So I have another pair of Jordan 29s in the other room, but here you have the ultimate gift of flight, Jordan 29. The ultimate gift of flight pack included the Jordan 29 and the Jordan 11, and of course a lot of people liked the Jordan 11 a lot, which is why I was able to get the Jordan 29 for cheap. The Jordan 29 is definitely one of my favorite basketball shoes of all time, and although the Jordan 28 is technically better in terms of performance, I do like how the 29 looks a little bit more. So if you were to ask me how I would rank the 29 versus the 28, I'd actually pick the 29. Then for the next shoe, it is another lifestyle shoe. So here we have the Adidas ZX10000 in the Krusty Burger colorway. This is actually my first pair of Adidas ZX sneakers, and they are actually surprisingly comfy and really lightweight. And this collaboration with the Simpsons in this Krusty Burger colorway was really done well, and I'm really happy with the shoe because you have a lot of really cool details, and it also looks super fun and quirky as well. Then for the next shoe, it is a pair that I was actually surprised I was able to get, because this is the Adidas Mutombo. So you have that 55, which was Dikembe Mutombo's number, and as you can see, it's a super high top, and this just looks super 90s. I mean, it did release in the 90s, and it's a shoe that I think gets forgotten a lot, but I do like wearing these with my joggers, especially if I'm going for a retro look. And then for the next shoe, we actually go from the 90s to 2021, and we actually have the Jordan Zion 1 in the launch colorway. This is the Gen Zion colorway, which is just white, black, and a little bit of clear rubber on the outsole. And it's definitely a super comfy shoe, and it looks pretty cool as well. The other colorways have already dropped, and they all look nice in my opinion. It's just that the materials are pretty crappy, but I guess it is what it is. Pretty good first signature shoe if you ask me, and I do hope that Zion continues to ascend and that his shoes continue dropping and continue selling well. Then for the next shoe, we actually have another first signature shoe. So here we have the Zoom Freak 1, or Giannis Antetokounmpo's first signature shoe. This is in that green and blue mismatched colorway. I do like wild colorways, so this is why I picked these up. And it's not really the best shoe to play in. I mean, the traction is okay, but the materials are pretty crappy and the cushion's nowhere to be found. But I did keep these because these were his MVP sneakers, and it's just always pretty special when it's the first signature shoe. Then moving up a level, we have something from the early 2000s. We have the Adidas T-Mac 1, but we have it in the St. Vincent St. Mary colorway, or LeBron James PE. It does come in the St. Vincent St. Mary color, so you have that white, green, and gold, and you have LeBron's number 23 stitched in at the back. Definitely a pretty cool sneaker, especially with that history of LeBron wearing this in high school. It just is a pretty stiff and heavy shoe, so I wouldn't really recommend playing in it, but you know, you can if you want to. But for me, it's more of a collection piece, and I mostly wear this casually. Then moving to the next one, we have the Ric Flair edition, or Ric Flair colorway, of the Adidas Dame 7. The Dame 7 is by far the best shoe from Adidas this year, and with this Ric Flair colorway, it just kind of strikes a chord with me because I was a big wrestling fan growing up, and if you are a wrestling fan, you know that Ric Flair is a boss. They did come out with the all blue ones. I didn't really like those, but with this one, it's white and gold, and it really just spoke to me, and I really love the way that it looks. Then for the next shoe, we have another classic shoe. So here we have the Nike Penny 4, and this is in the Orlando Magic colorway. So you have your white, your blue, and your black. This actually fits really well. You have that strap, you have that soft leather that really wraps around your foot, and it is pretty stable as well. So if you want some support, you want some traction for outdoor use, and you want a good fitting shoe, a penny shoe is definitely a pretty good option. Then for the next shoe, it is a super old school shoe, and it actually has super nice materials. It might have one of the best leathers on any shoe in my collection. So it is the Puma Ralph Samson in the high. They actually call this the mid, but as you can see, it's a high cut for sure. It has that rubber cup sole, that white leather that is just super soft and super premium. It's nicely lined as well, and it has a shock wedge midsole, so it's not super uncomfortable. And it's definitely a super nice classic shoe to have in your collection. Then the next one is a shoe that a lot of people like, but it's kind of hard to play in it honestly, and it is the Nike Foamposite. There are two kinds. You have the Foamposite Pro and the Foamposite 1. The only differences would be that the Nike Foamposite 1 doesn't have that swoosh on the side, and it also doesn't have herringbone pads like the Pro, but instead have it full length. It is pretty comfy when you're just standing around because it has full length zoom, but if you start running in these, you'll definitely feel that it's very stiff, and you also have a lot of heel slippage on this shoe. I do like this colorway though, because since it is a little bit boot-like, I like how it's a military style vibe. Then for the next shoe, we have a Reebok that I really like, even though not a lot of people do. And it is the Reebok Answer 5 in the BBC Ice Cream collaboration. BBC or Billionaire Boys Club did a collaboration with the Reeboks, and they actually have like a question, I think, and they also have like a question low. But I went for the Reebok Answer 5 because I just really liked how wild the colors were. You have this blue, you have this yellow, you have a little bit of purple, and it's just a shoe that really stands out, and the materials are also pretty good as well. Then for the next shoe, you had the previous signature shoe from Reebok, and these are the Reebok Answer 4s in all black with a little bit of gray. They did come out with this all-star pair, which is the white and red ones, and I think they will come back with the stepovers, which is the white and black ones. And I do personally prefer those over this one, so I might have to let this one go. And I also don't really like it because of that leather on the sock liner. It kinda does chafe my foot a little bit and gives me quite a few blisters when I'm walking or playing basketball in these. The leather is really nice on this shoe though, and it has a lot of history behind it because of the step over and the lead up to the 2001 All-Star game. So definitely a pretty nice shoe to have. Then the next shoe is the Reebok Question, which is definitely Allen Iverson's most famous shoe. So here we have the double cross colorway, which is a mismatched colorway, so you have red on the left shoe and blue on the right shoe. And it just looks really cool on foot. I mean, I wasn't really much of a fan, but when I got my first pair, it really did look good on foot. And the materials are also pretty nice. The only bad thing is that on these more recent retros, they don't use that comfy insole. But I guess if you are just using these for casual wear, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Then the next shoe is another 90s shoe. And we have the Nike Air More Uptempo in the Olympic colorway. This actually isn't the recent retro. I think this is the retro from around 4 or 5 years ago. And it still is in pretty good shape. I actually had it cleaned up a little bit by the good people Kixomatic. So if you want like repainting or any cleaning or any re-gluing of your shoes, they're definitely a good place to check out. The Nike Air More Uptempo is definitely one of Nike's biggest shoes in the 90s, and it just, just really screams 90s. You have that exaggerated branding, you have those air units, and I just really love this Olympic colorway. It's actually my favorite colorway of the Air More Uptempo, which means I do like it more than the triple black version. Scottie Pippen did use these in the Olympics, so you have his number 8 at the back. So it's definitely one of my favorite shoes in my entire collection. Then for the next shoe, you have a pretty low-key shoe. It's the Fila Grant Hill. It's the Fila Grant Hill 1, so it's kind of cramped in here. I think I should have put it sideways or something, but anyway, here you have it in the black, red, and white colorway. I would have preferred getting the white ones, but they weren't available when I got these. But it is a pretty cool looking shoe. You have that really big Fila branding here at the side, and it just is a tank of a shoe. I mean, the materials aren't the best. I mean, they're pretty doable. They're pretty comfy on foot, but definitely it is a big throwback shoe. So anyone from the 90s or anyone who is a Grant Hill fan, you definitely know about the Grant Hill 1. Then for the next shoe, it is a lifestyle shoe that I actually got alongside the Omnis ones. So it is the New Balance 373 in this brown color. So these are a pretty good shoe with the shorts as well. Just throw on some no-show socks and you're pretty much good to go. The 373 is actually my favorite New Balance shoe because it isn't too chunky and they actually have nice colors on the shoe, and it's also pretty affordable as well. So you know, if you're looking for a New Balance shoe to wear with shorts, I think the New Balance 373 is a pretty good option. Then for the next shoe, it is my first ever Jordan 1 and the first ever Jordan that my mom bought for me, and it is the Jordan 1 Mid New Love. Back when these retro, they were actually sitting on shelves and I was pretty surprised that I found them because the original pack is a pretty coveted pack and they are pretty expensive on StockX and on GOAT. But these are definitely one of my favorite colorways of the Jordan 1. I mean, it does give you that Bumblebee or Camaro vibe with that yellow and black. And it's just a shoe that I pretty much wore into the ground. I mean, the heel drags on this are so bad. You have some ripping on the upper. I actually used these to play basketball. I just kind of put a different insole in these and I was actually playing pretty well in these shoes. Then moving on up, we have my first pair of Soldiers. So these are the Agimat Soldier 12s. So this was a collaboration between Nike and the Philippines. So it's this really nice blue. You have these symbols here at the front part of the midfoot. Then you have some pretty nice gold hits here on the piping around the crown logo. And it's just a really nice shoe. And you know, every time that there's a Philippine collaboration, I'm definitely on it. Because you know, it is really nice when Nike or Jordan Brand kind of acknowledges that we are a basketball frenzy country and gives us special colorways like this. Then for the next shoe, we actually have another classic. So this would be a shoe most notably worn by Julius Erving. So this is the Converse Pro Leather. This is just in a Boston Celtics colorway. And I think the reason behind the pack that this came in, which was the Celtics, the Knicks, and I'm forgetting the other team, but I think it was for Black History because those three teams were the first teams to have black NBA players. So definitely a cool story with this shoe, and it's also just a classy shoe. It's pretty much all white, and the leather on the shoe is also super nice. Just don't expect anything from the cushion because 1970s. Then moving on to the next shoe, you have the Puma Palace Guard, which was the signature shoe of Isaiah Thomas. It's actually one of my favorite shoes to rock because you have that nice leather, and it is a low top, which is an advantage when you live in a hot place like the Philippines. I really like this colorway as well as the classic Pistons colorway, and it's actually something that you can get on sale, and if you want a classic shoe that's a low top as well, I think this is a really good choice. Then for the next shoe, I just had to get these ones because they are my favorite team. So here we have the Joel Embiid one from Under Armour, and for anyone who knows me, I am a huge Sixers fan, so we are the #1 seed and I hope we get all the way to the finals. But of course we shall see, and it's definitely a big step in the right direction that Embiid has a signature shoe because it has been a really long time since a big man last had a signature shoe. This is a pretty good shoe, but there are a lot of other really good shoes this year, so I mean, it's doable, but it's not one of the best. Then moving on to the next shoe, we have the first SB Dunk in the collection. Don't really have a lot, but here we have the Nike SB Dunk Cali, and it's supposed to be a California colorway, but it's more of a Mexico if you look at it. I mean, you have that green, that red, white, brown, you have that star here on the lateral side, and it's just a really unique colorway in my opinion, and I've always really liked this shoe, and I was able to get these at a really good price as well. And the thing that's good about collecting Nike SBs or Nike Dunks is that they last a really long time. Then for the next shoe, we have another Fila shoe. So this is the Fila GH2. So Grant Hill's second signature shoe. It isn't in the OG colorway. Wait, it's kind of hard to get it. But it isn't in the OG colorway, but I do like what they did. They kind of swapped out the blue for this really bright red. And the Fila GH2, in my opinion, is the most iconic Grant Hill shoe. And I'm definitely happy that I have this in my collection, and it's just a classic in my opinion, and you can get these at a really good price if you want one. I mean, I think I got them for like $40 or less, but really durable shoe also if you want an outdoor option. Then we'll move up. I'll kind of move the camera around a little bit so you can see it. Alright, so moving on to the next shoes, we have the LeBron 18s, and these are in the Melon Tint or Sisterhood colorway. These were the shoes he was wearing when they clinched the championship last year in Game 6. So it definitely has a pretty good significance to it. It's just not my favorite colorway of the LeBron 18s, but definitely a good story, and the LeBron 18 is a super comfy shoe. You have that thick Flyknit upper, you have Cushlon, you have full-length Zoom, you have an Air Max 270 unit. I mean, in terms of cushion, it doesn't really get much better than this. Then for my next pair, we have the Titan collaboration on the LeBron 17 Low. The LeBron 17 Low, I think, is much more liked than the LeBron 17 because the LeBron 17s didn't really look the best. And with this Titan collaboration, it was pretty special because first of all, they changed it up. They went for red this time instead of that blue. You have a lot of really cool details on the upper that are kind of embossed on it, and it just is a really cool looking shoe that in a couple of years most Filipinos will remember fondly. Then for the next shoe, we have the previous collab. So these are the LeBron 16 lows in the Titan collaboration. So you have that Titan logo with that fist and lightning bolts on the back. You have a new kind of design because they used a zipper. So you had other details underneath that, which I think was a really cool touch and a reason why this was more popular than the LeBron 17 lows. And you also have that really nice blue that a lot of people came to like. Just a really cool collaboration, so kudos again to Titan, and definitely a cool shoe. Then for the next one, I'll scoot over here. You have the LeBron 7 in the MVP colorway. So this was a shoe that I was really excited about because you used to have to pay such a large amount of money for these because these didn't actually release to the public. And now that they did, I thought that a lot of people would like the shoe, but it kind of sat and it was heavily discounted. That doesn't really take anything away from the shoe in my opinion because I really do like how it looks. I like the significance of it because it represents its back-to-back MVPs in 2008 to 2009 and in 2009 to 2010. I also really love that color palette. You have white, you have gray, you have that wine kind of red, and you have that chenille patch, which I think is the icing on the cake. Then for the next shoe, it's another really special pair because my girlfriend gave me these ones, and it's kind of a fun story because I actually saw this shoe sitting on shelves and I actually didn't buy it because I was kind of focusing on reviewing other shoes at the time, and I was thinking that maybe in a couple of months I could get them, and they actually sold out, so I was kind of sad. But to my surprise, my girlfriend actually bought these for me and kind of kept them for a really long time, and it was just so awesome when I got these. I was just super happy. I really like this colorway. It's just super clean, white and gold. I am a pretty big sucker for white and gold, so definitely right up my alley. And if you haven't noticed, the LeBron 7 is one of my favorite LeBrons of all time. Then for the next shoe, it's the first of my double up Kobe's. So these ones are the Sky Top Kobe's. You have the Elite Kobe 9, and these are in the Lakers colors. And it's just a super high top. I mean, a lot of people were rocking with these. It's just kind of hard to use these off the court, but definitely a superb shoe. You had that fly knit, you had that beastly traction. And this was definitely a shoe that a lot of people used on court because it just performed really well. I do have another pair in the other room, and it's the low top version because it's too high. I mean, you can't really wear this other than on a basketball court. Then for the next shoe, actually next row, you have the Nike Kobe 1 Pro Throw in the All-Star colorway. This is one of the shoes that I actually haven't worn yet. I mean, it just looks super pristine. I'm definitely gonna break these out sometime soon. I just need like an occasion. But definitely one of the best Kobe 1 Pro Throw colorways to release. I mean, you have that white, that red, that black. And you actually have a little bit more black on the medial side. So I really like how that kind of ties everything together. And it's just a super clean shoe. And as I said, it's dead stock. Just trying to find a time and place to rock these. Then for the next one, we have the Kobe 4 Pro Throw in the Carpe Gem colorway. Not really a fan of shoes that have a lot of black, but these are one of the exceptions. You have those Laker colors, you have that gold, that purple, and you have the base of black. And I just really like the Kobe 4 Pro Throw in general. And this colorway, since it is the Carpe Diem, or seize the day, it really has a lot of meaning to it, and I just really love this shoe. Then for the next one, we have the Nike Kobe 5 Pro Throw in the Bruce Lee colorway. And this is one of those shoes that a lot of people really liked back in the day. And now that, with all of that hype around Kobe's, and sadly when he passed away, this was definitely an auto cop for a lot of people. And I'm just happy that I was able to get a pair. I mean, that yellow just pops like a lot. I mean, this Bruce Lee colorway is definitely right up there when it comes to the Kobe 5 colorways. Then for the next shoe, we have the Nike Kobe 6 Pro Throw, and this time it's in the white Del Sol or playoff back colorway. So here you have it. I just recently reviewed these, I think last month. Definitely happy that I was able to get these. I mean when they broke the news that Nike and Kobe's partnership was ending, prices on these just like skyrocketed, and it's just really sad because I feel like everyone should have like a pair of Kobe's, and with the resellers kind of getting a lot of these pairs, it just makes it infinitely harder for normal people to get shoes like this. Then for the last colorway of this row, or the last shoe of this row, we have the Nike Kobe 6 Pro Throw in the All-Star colorway. Shout out to my office mate Lawrence because I think he really wants this pair. I'm kind of deciding whether to give it to him for retail, but you know, still thinking about it. And it's just a really clean colorway, and it has that backstory of being used in the All-Star game and that hologram tongue as well, so it's definitely one of the more iconic colorways of the Kobe 6. Then moving up, here we have our Kyries. So a lot of them I will be uploading to the Steel Cabinet in the SNDPH Sneaker Hunters Facebook group, and this is because I really don't get to use them, especially now in the pandemic, so I think it would benefit other people, so I'm just gonna kind of get rid of them by selling them for below market price. I also don't think I want to collect as many of their shoes. I kind of just got all of them so that I would know how they would feel, because before I wasn't really able to get these shoes, so I just wanted to get them and kind of walk around in them, play basketball in them quite a bit. So for example, when the Kyrie 7 comes in, I can compare it to all of the other Kyries, because I was able to, at least for a while, own all of the others. So for the first one, we actually have my favorite Kyrie, which is the Kyrie 1. This is in the Letterman colorway, and I really love this colorway since, you know, it has a pretty interesting look, because you have this yellow and this sort of turquoise or teal, which is not a color combination that you see a lot. I did say that I was gonna let go of quite a lot of these shoes, but these are staying. And then for the next shoe, we have the Nike Kyrie 2 in this Duke colorway. I think this is the Duke away, since it's that royal blue and the black. I don't really like the Kyrie 2 because, for one, the cushion is kind of ass. Then the second thing about it that I don't like is I do have a high instep, so that kind of means that straps hate me, and I hate straps as well. So this is definitely not a shoe that fits me really well, but it definitely does fit a lot of other people pretty nicely. They did have a lot of good colorways of this as well, and of course these were the ones he was wearing when he hit the shot over Golden State. And then for the next shoe, we have the Nike Kyrie 3, and we have it in the sort of maroon color. I'm not really sure what this colorway was called, but the Kyrie 3, just like the Kyrie 2, has barely any cushion. I mean, if you don't like cushion, the Kyrie 2 and the Kyrie 3 are definitely good options. But for me, I do like cushion, so it was just really hard to even walk around in a pair of Kyrie 2s and 3s. But colorway is pretty nice, and the Kyrie 3 is one of the better looking Kyries. It's just that I really don't wear these a lot, and I don't like wearing them, so I do think I'm leaning more to getting rid of these, so just stay tuned if you're a member of the SNBPH Sneaker Hunters. Then for the next shoe, you do have the Kyrie 4. And this is the Parquet Floor colorway, so this was in his time with the Boston Celtics, which, you know, is definitely not Kyrie's best moment, because, you know, kind of did better without him, and when he played, they kind of got bounced early in the playoffs, so it is what it is. But this is kind of a cool remembrance that, you know, Kyrie did play for the Celtics. This is one of the more comfy Kyrie shoes, and I do like playing in them, so these are pretty good. And if you want a playable pair of Kyries, anyone from the 4 to the 7 are pretty good. Then for the next shoe, we have a collab sneaker with Kyrie. So it's the Kyrie 5 in the Pineapple House colorway, which is from their collab with SpongeBob. So they did have quite a few colorways. They had the SpongeBob, the Squidward, they had the Patrick. They also had the Kyrie Lows in the Sandy Cheeks colorway and the Mr. Krabs colorway. But my favorite colorway would definitely have to be this Pineapple House colorway. You have that Pineapple House graphic all around the shoe. You actually have the top of the Pineapple House, you know, the top of the pineapple, the leaf, and the fly trap piece, and I think that was a really nice touch. And of course, my favorite detail is that you have Gary behind the thumb. So definitely a cool shoe, and this is my favorite of the bunch, but I do understand if people like the SpongeBob or the Patrick more, but this is just more of my thing. And then for the next shoe, we have the Kyrie 6 in the Oracle Aqua colorway. And this was a pretty cool colorway. You had a little bit of suede at the back, which was definitely nice. You had an all aqua blue upper, then you had orange on the strap, as well as the heel counter. Once again, the reason why I didn't really like the Kyrie 6 is because straps hate me, so This strap wasn't really that flexible, so not a shoe that I was really comfy playing in or even walking around in. So that's that. Then moving on, you have on that far end, you have the Kyries 7, and this is in the Sisterhood colorway as well. So there were quite a few Sisterhood colorways. So like I said, the Melon Tint LeBron 18s were also called the Sisterhoods, but these two look way different than those because the LeBrons had like an all orange upper, where on the Kyrie 7 Sisterhood you just had it on the outsole. You have this nice blue on the upper, and the only real issue I had was the durability of the mesh, because my pair's kind of beat up even though I didn't really use these a lot, but it is a pretty solid shoe to play in. I mean, the traction is pretty nice. Then for the next series of shoes, we have the Paul George signature shoes. So here we have the Paul George 1, and this is, I forgot the name of the colorway, but it is this very light gray. You have this interesting pattern on the back half of the shoe, because you have these sort of scales which have this synthetic suede. And I really do like how the PG1 looks. In my opinion, it's the best out of all of them. It's just it fits a little bit tight and it's hard to get your foot inside the shoe. But once you're in, it fits pretty well. And though the cushion is pretty basic, it is a pretty good looking shoe. Then for the second shoe, we have the Nike PG2. And this is the Mamba Mentality colorway. It has this purple on the upper, a translucent outsole, and as you can see, mine's pretty yellow. You have this pretty unique graphic here at the back. And overall, I think the PG2 looks decent, and it's definitely one of the favorites of other people when they're talking about the signature shoes, because this was definitely more comfy than the PG1, but I think it also looks better than the 3, 4, and 5. Of course, the most famous colorway of the PG2 was the PlayStations, but I wasn't lucky enough to get them, and it's quite hard to find them now. I mean, the PlayStation collabs that you can find now are like the recent PG5s and the PG2.5s. I just haven't found the PG2s in my size, so that's been a struggle. And here we have the PG3, once again in the Mamba Mentality colorway. And this was definitely a beastly shoe. You just had to break it in. And you know, I mean, the break-in process was pretty brutal. But once you did break it in, it performed really well. The cushion was great, the traction was really nice. The upper is pretty basic, but it does move well with your foot and it works pretty well. And overall, this is definitely a shoe that once you break it in, you're really not gonna have any issues or any problems on court. Unless, of course, you hit the side of the backboard. But anyway, then for the other one, you have the Nike PG4. And this is in the simple black and white colorway, or kind of Oreo colorway. And this was definitely quite shocking because, I mean, the PG3 looked a little bit different compared to the PG2. But the PG4 just took the design language and kind of just flipped it upside down, because you had this weird kind of outer shell with this zipper. You had neoprene on the inside, and the midsole looked kind of chunky as well. But it was a pretty comfy shoe. This was the first shoe that had that full-length air strobel unit, and you had good traction as well. And then moving on to the next one, you have the most recent Paul George, which is the Paul George 5, and you have it here in the PlayStation 5 colorway. The PlayStation 5 as of now is just still impossible to get. I still haven't gotten my hands on one, and I might not for the foreseeable future, because I don't know, I don't really play that much in the first place, and I'm definitely not gonna pay resale for something that I don't use that much. So the PG5 PlayStation 5 is definitely a cool looking shoe, and in my opinion, it's the best colorway of the PG5. And the PG5 in general is one of the best shoes of 2021. Then for the next shoes, we have the Curry line. So I will get rid of a lot of my Curry shoes as well. But here we have the Under Armour Curry 1 in the Splash Party colorway. And I really like this because it's super clean. I mean, it's predominantly white. You have a little bit of silver or gray. Then you have this like confetti kind of pattern here on the sock liner. They have started to retro the Curry ones, and I'm definitely gonna be thinking about getting a pair. But for me, even if I don't double up on the Currys, I'm really satisfied that I have the Splash Party colorway. The Curry one, in my opinion, is also the best looking Curry, so definitely this is one of the shoes that are staying put here in my collection. Then for the next shoe, we have one of the best tractions of all time as well, and you have the Under Armour Curry 2. It was really hard for me to get a used pair that wasn't too badly used. I mean, I did get this pair, but it's super yellow as you can see. But it had super beastly traction, the charged cushion wasn't too bad, and the upper did conform well to your foot. In my opinion, this is definitely one of the best Currys to play in, and I do hope that they retro it, because for me personally, it's hard to find a used pair that's pretty usable. Then for the next shoe, we have like the first dud in the Curry line. So these are the Curry 3s. And the Curry 3s were just a major disappointment to everyone because, I mean, it's pretty bulky, it's pretty chunky, it's actually really clunky here at the heel. And the aesthetics as well don't really look that good. I mean, I don't really like anything about this shoe. The only thing I can say is that I like this colorway of the shoe. But this is definitely one of the worst Curry shoes in my opinion. So that's the Curry 3. And here we have the Under Armour Curry 4. The Curry 4 in the high cut is not my favorite because you do have a lot of like plasticky fuse. But I think I would have enjoyed the Curry 4 because they got rid of that kind of plastic layer. But this is definitely the lightest Curry, and if you want a lightweight shoe that has pretty good traction, this is definitely a good option. Then on the next one, you have the Under Armour Curry 5. And this shoe is actually kind of forgettable. I mean, there's nothing too special about it in my opinion. I mean, the traction was okay and the cushion is kind of non-existent, but the upper was also pretty soft, especially when you started breaking in this outer layer. But it's just a shoe in my opinion that really doesn't have much to it. I mean, it's the Curry 5. And then for the next shoe, you do have the Under Armour Curry 6. And this, I guess, would have been the best shoe had the Curry 8 not come out, because the cushion on this was better than most of the other Currys. It had pretty good traction, it's just that the traction pattern had durability issues, and you had a pretty soft and comfortable and stretchy upper. The Curry 6 is definitely one of the best if you're looking for a Curry to play in, and you can actually find this like slightly used for good prices. Then for the next shoe on that top corner, so this is the last row for this wall, you have the Curry 7 in this kind of basic kind of black and red colorway, and I don't really like how this colorway looks. I'm not really sure why I have this shoe. I didn't really enjoy playing with it as well. I mean, I had my hopes up because it has micro G, it has hover, and I really didn't feel like it had either of them because, I mean, the cushion was pretty dead. Traction was really good though, but the materials on the upper, especially when you compare it to the Curry 6 that came before it and the Curry 8 that came after, are definitely underwhelming. You did have pretty cool collaborations with the Curry 7. I mean, you did have the Nerf colorway, and you had that other collab. I'm not sure if it was Jolly Rancher or some other candy, but those were nice too. It's just, you know, the colorway I got was pretty basic, and the shoe overall is one that I think is pretty forgettable as well. Then for the next shoe, we have one of my favorite shoes to play in, which is the Adidas Hardens Volume 1. I really wanted to find a pair of that launch colorway one where you had that white toe, but I had to settle for this pretty much all red one, and I really like it as well. You have full length boost on the midsole, you have that traction that doesn't look like it would work well, but it actually really does. You have that nice and comfy upper, and you had that leather on the toe. This is definitely one of my favorite Hardens, not just in terms of performance, but also in terms of the colorways and the overall look of the shoe. Then for the next one, you had another Harden which performed really well. It's just in terms of the look, I didn't like it as much as the other one. So here we have the Harden Volume 2. As you can see, it has a pretty thick slab of boost, so the cushion was definitely on point. The upper was also pretty comfy and the traction was okay, but in my opinion, I would still take the Harden Volume 1 over these, especially when you take into consideration the aesthetics of the shoe. Then the next one, you have probably my second favorite Harden, which is the Harden Volume 3. It seems like a pretty basic shoe because you have that sort of one-piece upper, you have a herringbone outsole, and you have a thin boost midsole. But it really did perform well, and for me, at least in my opinion, the Harden Volume 1 is like the best to play basketball in, but the Harden Volume 3 is a really close second. This is the I'm a Be a Star colorway, and I really like it because it's so loud. I mean, I did wear these quite a bit on court, and it really just attracts a lot of attention because it's kind of shimmering, and for that, I really like this shoe. Then for the next one, we have the Harden Volume 4, and oh well, there goes that lid. But here you have the Harden Volume 4, and the Harden Volume 4 is a pretty forgettable one as well. I mean, this is the Daniel Patrick collaboration colorway, and I do like certain colorways of the Harden Volume 4, including this one. It's just that for me, the light strike that they used on the shoe was way too thin, and it definitely lacked in terms of impact protection. It also has this thick kind of midfoot bungee, and those really kind of bothered my foot. So at least for me, it was really constricting. Then for the last shoe of this wall, we have the Harden Volume 5. And this is, in my opinion, the worst Harden of all time. The midsole is super stiff, the traction doesn't seem like it works as well as the other ones, and the upper is just super plasticky and stiff as well. I mean, man, this shoe, the Harden Volume 5, is absolutely terrible. Anyway, might be the most disappointing shoe of the year, but we'll have to wait and see. So that's it for this wall. We have one more wall for this room, and I'll just turn it over. Then here on this wall, we actually have all of my Keven Durant signature shoes, as well as my double or triple up pairs of Jordans. So for the first one, we do have the Nike KD4, and I have it here in the undefeated colorway, and I really do like how the KD4 looks. I mean, in my own personal opinion, it's the best looking KD signature shoe. And you had so many good colorways. I mean, you had this undefeated one, you had the Nerf colorway, you had the Aunt Pearls, you had the OKC home colorway, which was part of the, I think, 16 collection. You also had one of the most coveted colorways of KDs, the Weathermans. I didn't really enjoy playing basketball in the KD4 that much because it did have a weird shape, but it's definitely, in my opinion, a great looking shoe. Then for the next shoe, we have the Nike KD5, and my KD5 is actually almost falling apart on me, so I don't really know if I'll have this restored or I'll try to get another pair. But the KD5 is definitely another crowd favorite. I mean, you know, the only downside is that it's an all-fuse upper, but you had a lot of nice colorways of this shoe as well. It's just, you know, my pair is like kind of separating at the midsole, and you also have that air bubble. It's kind of messed up, so I'm not really sure. Hopefully I can have this restored. If not, I might try looking for a different pair. Then for the next one, you have another pretty old shoe, and it's pretty dingy as well, but we have the KD6, and I forget which colorway this was, but you also had other colorways like the creamsicle KD6, I think, which were definitely ones that I would have rather had, but for the purposes of collecting, I got this shoe. I think this is the OKC away colorway, if I'm not mistaken, and I think there were actually two OKC away colorways. This would be the second one. And the KD6 was definitely a pretty good shoe to play in. I mean, you had zoom in the forefoot and air at the back. It's just, you know, this was still at the point where it was all fused, so I definitely didn't appreciate the materials, but you know, it was kind of standard for the time. Then for the last shoe on this row, we have the Nike KD7, and this is actually my personal favorite KD signature shoe because it did perform really well, and it also looks pretty cool as well. He had a lot of iconic colorways. I think the most iconic one would probably be the USA colorway, which he used in the Olympics. But I also really like the colorway I have because it has this nice kind of pink and hints of orange, gray, and green as well. So once again, at least in my opinion, a pretty good looking shoe, which performed really good on court as well. Then for the next row, we have the KD8 in the What the colorway. And in my opinion, this is probably the worst What the colorway, because I don't understand this mid-panel. It looks kind of like a rug that's kind of knitted together. But it was an interesting attempt at a What the colorway, so I do appreciate that. But the KD8, in my opinion, is definitely one of the worst looking KDs, because you can see this, it kind of protrudes out here at the side. Then you also have these protruding out on the lateral side. So definitely one of the weirder looking KDs, but they were comfortable. You had that sort of chambered zoom setup. And I'm just glad that I have the lows, because the high cut versions of these, or the elites, were definitely one of the ugliest shoes ever. Then for the next shoe, we have the Nike KD9. And this is definitely right up there when we're talking about the best KDs to play in. I mean, you have that full-length zoom that is articulated here at the toe for some flex. You have that Flyknit upper, which is really comfy. And you had the traction that was pretty good as well. I like this all-red colorway because it just pops. And in my opinion, it's definitely one of the best KDs. The only problem is that it was a KD, so it fits pretty narrow. So for all of the wide footers, they weren't really able to get the full experience of the KD9 because it was a pretty narrow shoe. Then for the next shoe, we have the Nike KD10. And the Nike KD10, at least on the surface, kind of seems like the KD9. You just have some differences, like the lacing system being kind of weird. But it didn't really perform like the KD9. It was actually quite disappointing. You have that same full-length zoom, but it just didn't feel as nice and as bouncy. You had that Flyknit upper yet again, but it wasn't as comfy. It also didn't have the best lockdown, and the traction was also not at the level that the KD9 was. Then for the next shoe, this was actually one of the most dangerous KDs to play in, because it was just like an ankle roll waiting to happen. It was pretty comfy though if you just used it for walking around casually. And this is actually my brother's pair, and it's the Nike KD11. It had a full-length Zoom Air unit within a full-length React midsole, and that really just seemed like such an awesome cushion setup. But the problem was you did sit pretty high off the ground, you didn't have any real outrigger, and you had a super soft Flyknit upper, which did feel comfy on foot. The problem was it didn't really contain your foot, so on side-to-side movements you were definitely sliding out of the footbed. Then for the next shoe, this is probably the best KD to play basketball in. I mean, I really did enjoy testing out this shoe, and it is the Nike KD12. And this is actually the first shoe that used the Zoom Strobel technology. You had that quad axial flywire for some support. It had a pretty basic looking traction pattern, but it actually worked really well. And in my opinion, it's just such an awesome shoe. I mean, it fit pretty well. The cushion and the traction was amazing, and you really can't go wrong playing basketball in the KD12. The best colorway though, in my opinion, is not this KD home colorway, but instead the on-pearl KD12s. It's just quite hard to find them, and when you can find them, they're pretty expensive as well. So I just decided passing on those and keeping these ones. Then for the next shoe, we do have the KD13, and this is a Nike by You pair that I made. And it is a pretty nice shoe. It's just, you know, KD was hurt in the year that these released, so they kind of were an outlet special. But the traction was good, you had full-length Zoom Strobel yet again. And even though the upper felt a lot cheaper than the KD12s, it was still a really good shoe to play in. I also made this colorway, so I think it looks nice. I mean, it is a little bit on the louder side because you do have a lot of colors. But I do appreciate that they were able to put this on Nike by You, because it allowed us to make colorways like this. Then for the next shoe, we have the newest KD, and this is the Nike KD14. And this definitely has mixed reactions for me, because I think it'll perform pretty well, especially with that comfortable cushion setup. You have a full-length Zoom Strobel once again, and a full-length Cushlon midsole, and pretty good traction. The only problem I have is that the material on the upper feels really weird. And once again, you have that strap, and the designer of the KD14 is actually the person who designed the Kyries shoes. And you can definitely see it, because this doesn't really look a lot like the KD shoes, but instead looks like a Kyries shoe that became a KD signature shoe. So once again, I do think this is a good shoe. Once again, straps and me just don't get along. Then for the next shoe, we have my first double up pair of Jordans. So this is the Jordan 1 in the Co.JP colorway, and this is the neutral gray one because there is a midnight navy, and a lot of people like the midnight navy a lot better, but for me, this is more my thing. I'm a fan of louder colorways, and this sort of neutral gray and silver is definitely more of my cup of tea. Jordan 1s have been really popping as of late, and all of them kind of go for resale. Most of them have a pretty decent resale value. But I just hope we can all go back to the times when you could go in store and buy a pair of Jordan 1s. I'm thinking if I should get the Midnight Navy pair also, just to complement this one, but it's not really on my priority list at the moment, so at least for now, I'm really happy with this one. Then for the next shoe, we have my double and triple up pairs of Jordan 3s. I really like the Jordan 3s, and they're probably my favorite Jordans of all time. And for this one, you have the Georgetown colorway of the Jordan 3s. Definitely really nice. You have that Georgetown blue, a little bit of gray on the elephant print, and the panels on top. And what really pulls the shoe together, in my opinion, is the white on the midsole as well as the white laces. The leather on these is pretty nice, and I really like that OG shape. So it's definitely a shoe that I think I'll be rocking quite a lot. Then for the next shoe, we have a retro that, you know, kind of flew under the radar. I mean, it's still sitting on shelves or sitting online, so to speak. And it's the Jordan 3 Cool Grey. I mean, this kind of did happen with the Jordan 4 Cool Greys where they didn't sell out right away. But now when you try to buy a pair of Jordan 4 Cool Greys, they do have some resale value to them. So it might just be a case that, you know, these are pretty easy to cop right now, but they might increase in value over time. I really do like all of the Cool Grey Jordans. You have the 3, the 4, the 9, and the 11 that's coming back this year. It's just a really nice throwback to the mid-2000s when Cool Grey was really popping. I also appreciate the Jordan 3 Cool Grey because it's the only Cool Grey with a little bit of color to it. So I think that orange and red really helps it stand out. Then for the next shoe is a shoe that has no problem standing out, and it's the Jordan 5 in the Toro Bravo or Raging Bull colorway. And this is the first time that the shoe has retroed since its original release in that Raging Bull pack. These are once again sitting in a few sizes, and I'm not really surprised because I think most of the people that bought these were resellers, and they found out that these weren't reselling for a lot because it is an all-red shoe, and not a lot of people are like me in the sense that they don't really rock loud color shoes. But for me, this is definitely right up my alley because I do wear a lot of black shirts and black joggers. So having a shoe like this is definitely a nice way to incorporate color in your style. I just really do love this colorway and I had to have these. And I'm just really happy that not a lot of people did, so it was pretty easy for me to cop a pair. Then for the next shoe, we do have another shoe that came in a pack way back when. And here we have the Jordan 6 DMP, which originally came with a pack along with the Jordan 11, but they did retro this last year, but just on its own. I really do like the Jordan 6 DMP because even though it is a predominantly black shoe, I like how it has gold and it really pops. My only issue is that I went with the size 10 and I realized that the size 10 is a little too big for me in the Jordan 6. So this might actually be a pair that I will be letting go because I really wish I could get these in a 9.5. But I really do like the shoe, it's just that it doesn't fit the way I want it to. Then for the next shoe, we have the next row. So here we have my other pair of Jordan 12s. And I kind of forget what they called this shoe. But the story of this shoe is supposedly that it'll kind of age over time, or sort of like distress or patina if you will. And I just really like this colorway. I mean, doesn't really have much historical significance to it, but it is just a really clean colorway. It has a nice shade of blue on the upper, this nice white for contrast, and overall the Jordan 12 is just a shoe that looks really nice with these simple colorways. I do want to wear these more often so I can get that distressed look and kind of figure out what they were trying to accomplish with this colorway. I can actually see a few like stress lines on the shoe, but not really anything different from a normal pair of Jordan 12s. Then for the next few shoes, you have my Jordan 11s. So I do have another pair of Jordan 11s in the GOAT room. But here we have the Jordan 11 Legend Blue from I think 2016 or somewhere around that time. And the only problem I have with the shoe is it doesn't have the OG shape, so I definitely hope they remaster this soon. But the Jordan 11 Legend Blue or Jordan 11 Columbia, which Michael Jordan used in the All-Star game, is definitely one of my favorite colorways of the Jordan 11. They did come out recently with the Jordan 11 Low, and I'm just not really a fan of the Jordan 11 Lows. I mean, if I were to get a pair of those, I would get the IE version because those were the ones that originally released in 1996. So for me personally, I didn't go for those, because I already have the mid-cut. But for these, I actually got these at Aftermarket PH, so it's definitely a good site to check out if you're trying to look for some gems for your collection. Then for the next shoe, we have what some people consider the greatest basketball shoe of all time. I'm not really a fan of black, so I don't have it as my favorite shoe of all time. But we have the Jordan 11 in the bread colorway. The Jordan 11 bread is the shoe that Jordan used in the 1996 playoffs, where the Bulls did cap off their 72-win season with an NBA championship. It's definitely one of the most iconic shoes in history, and a lot of people have this as like the GOAT of all sneakers. However, in my own personal opinion, it's not, but it is a really nice shoe, and is definitely one of the top Jordans of all time. Then for the next shoe, it's actually my favorite non-OG Jordan 11 colorway, and it's the all-red Winlike 96 colorway, which came out alongside the Winlike 82, which was that sort of white and kind of navy blue. But I really like this ever since I saw it on the feet of some NBA and PBA players. It just has that nice Chicago Bulls red all throughout, and a nice white midsole for some contrast. This is definitely the Jordan 11 I use the most, and as you've already kind of figured out, I really like these loud colorways. So that's it for this room. That was kind of tiring. But we do have the other room to go, it's just that doesn't have as many shoes as this one, so let's go. So right now we're in where the magic happens, so this is where I shoot my videos. This is where I edit them, so I just kind of edit them on my laptop. I do want to upgrade my laptop sometime soon so that I can edit in 4K. But that isn't the highest priority as of now because mostly it's surrounding the shoes. But before we get into this wall, I actually have a few shoes here. So they're underneath my table. So the first shoe here would be the Adidas Yeezy Boost 700 V3, and this is in the Kyanite colorway. I really do like wearing the shoe because it is so unique, and I am a fan of the 700 series, so the V3 is definitely something that I like. I like the V1, so I'm trying to get the Enflame Ambers that are releasing in June. And for the V2s, I did try on the creams and I took a fat L. So, you know, I'm not gonna pay resale for those. I'll just wait for if they release other colorways. Then for the next shoe, if the Yeezy 700 V3 was a pretty wild one, this is a classic. So you have the Air Force 1 Low in the triple white. This is definitely a major staple for every sneakerhead. Kinda just having a white on white shoe. You can have white Vans, white Chucks. But in my own personal opinion, the white on white Air Force 1 is definitely one of the best. And you know, a lot of people just really love this shoe. It's one of those pairs that they always release, and it's just such a timeless colorway and silhouette. Then for the next shoe, we have another 90s shoe. And this is one of my favorite Reeboks of all time. So this is the Reebok Kamikaze 2, and it's in the OG Seattle Supersonics colorway. This was used by Shawn Kemp in 1996, and I really do like this pair. It actually is a lot lighter than it looks because it looks pretty bulky, but it is pretty comfy underfoot, and it's definitely a tank of a shoe. Then for the next one, we have another pair of Jordan 3s, because like I said, favorite Jordans of all time. So we have the Jordan 3 UNC. So this was the release last year. So I really did like it that they were starting to release those college colors on the Jordan 3, and I've used these like a lot. I mean, you have some scuffs, you have some heel drags, and this is definitely one of my most worn shoes of this year. It's just super wearable. I mean, I wear these with shorts, with joggers, and it's just one of my favorite shoes from my entire collection. Then for the next few shoes, they're actually in this bag. So I got this bag from Katha, and I actually have two of them. I use this one from when I'm trying to play basketball, and the other one is more for work. But as you can see, it has like this division where you have three shoes. And the first shoe is the Curry 8. So if you were wondering where the Curry 8 was, it's in this bag. The Curry 8 is the first Curry brand shoe, and it's actually a really nice shoe to play in. The cushion is actually pretty comfy, which is a surprise. The traction is awesome, and the materials are really comfy on foot. I really want to buy some of the newer colorways of this shoe, but you know, I'm holding on to this one for now. But we shall see if I'll swap this out for other colorways or if I double up. Then for the next shoe, we have one of the more surprising shoes, because I didn't really think it would work that well on court. But we have the Nike Cosmic Unity. This does have the Space Hippie colorway, and I really like the way that it looks. It looks super futuristic, and it's a really good shoe on court. You have good traction, you have nice low to the ground cushion with lots of bounce. The only thing I can nitpick is that the fit isn't great, but aside from that, it's a really good shoe. Then for the last shoe in the bag, you actually have another frontrunner for shoe of the year, and that's the Clyde All Pro. This is actually the first Puma that I felt had really nice cushion. I mean, it's just perfectly balanced, and then you also have really nice traction, a superb fit, and pretty basic materials, but they do work well on court. And I'm really excited for all the future Puma shoes, because you know, if they're anything like this, then Puma's definitely gonna be a big problem in the sneaker space. So that's it for the shoes in this bag, and I really do like Katha's bag, so do check them out if you're really into sneakers and you bring multiple pairs around, because it's just super easy to bring them around with a bag like this. But then moving on, we do have 4 more boxes here. So the first one here on the far end would be the Nike Air Flight 89 in the Seattle Supersonics colorway. And this was actually a shoe that was gifted to me by my girlfriend's mom. And my girlfriend had a lot of input in it for sure, because she knew that I liked the shoe. But she also knew that I was hesitating to buy this shoe because if I reviewed this, it probably wouldn't get any views. But I do love how the retro looks. I mean, the shape could have been better and the materials could have been better as well. But I really do love the Air Flight 89s. It's like a different take on the Jordan 4s. As you can see from the shape, you have that Nike Air on the back as well. And you have that Seattle Supersonics colorway, and I just really wish that they'd bring back the Supersonics in the NBA. But of course, we've all been clamoring for that for years, so I'm not really sure if they'll ever do so, but I still do hope so. Then for the next shoe, we have another retro that's pretty chunky as well, and came out at around the same time, I think. So it's the Cons ERX 260. This was a shoe in the late 80s that was used by a lot of players like Karl Malone. You had Bill Laimbeer and the Bad Boys rocking these as well. And it's definitely a super chunky looking shoe. You have that big fat tongue on it as well. But it's pretty comfy because they injected it with foam. And I think this foam is like modern day EVA, which makes it a lot more comfy than it otherwise would have been. Then for my next shoe, we have another pair of Kobe's actually. And these are my original Kobe 6s in this purple gradient colorway. And the only reason why it's down here and not on the goat wall is because I have a different pair of 6s there. And you can kind of probably guess what that was. But the purple gradient is a nice and clean colorway. And I'm definitely happy that I have an OG pair because I was able to compare the Pro Throw with the OGs. And I can definitely say that the OG Kobe 6 performs pretty similar to the Pro Throw Kobe 6. Then for the next shoe, it is one of my more recent pickups, and it's from Adidas. And they made another collaboration, and this time it was with McDonald's for the McDonald's and Eric Emanuel collaboration on the Adidas Forum 84 High. The Adidas Forum 84 High has made a resurgence, and it has been really hard to get a pair actually. And with this pair as well, it kind of sold out in every size except like a size 14. And you can definitely understand why, especially when you get it in hand. Because for one, it's a classic shoe. For two, I like the colors on the shoe. And three, these have some of the best materials you can get right now. Then for the last shoe on this side, it's actually a pair that I just kind of have like lying around, and it's actually this pair of Yeezy 350s. So it's the Yeezy 350 V2 putter, and once again I got this from Aftermarket PH. And the Yeezy Boost 350 is just a super comfy shoe, which is why I have it just like lying around, because if I need to do a quick errand, this is kind of what I go after, since that Boost midsole is so amazing. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I do like the creams, the butters, and the other colorways that are plain a little bit more than the belugas and the zebras that have a little bit more of a pattern. And before I forget, I think I'll include this, but we just had a delivery that came in. So these are the Air Jordan 1s in the Shadow 2.0 colorway. So they just came in a while ago before I decided to shoot the video. So here you have it. Definitely a nice shoe, but I will review these soon. So that's that. Just wanted to mention that because, you know, it just came in this morning. Then we'll now move on to the goat wall, and I think I'll just start from the top. So I'll adjust the camera once again. So I guess in a way this is the main attraction because I consider this my GOAT wall since it has LeBrons, Kobe's, and Jordans. And starting from the top, I actually do have a couple of dunks, and the reason why they're there is there's 2 vacant spots. So I guess if I can find a pair of LeBron 2s or some of the Jordans that I'm lacking in the collection, the dunks will probably move to the other room and these will be sort of filled up. But for the dunks, we have the Nike Dunk High in the Syracuse colorway. And I really do love orange, and I did want this pair real bad, so I'm just happy that I was able to get these for retail. Nike Dunks have been having a resurgence as well, so not just the highs but the lows. I mean, I haven't had a win on any dunk lows in a really long time, so it just goes to show you how hyped they are right now. But I'm just happy that I have these, because favorite colors once again. Then for the next dunk, we actually have the Nike SB Dunk Eric Coston. So I think this came out in the early 2000s. And it's definitely not a colorway for everyone because, you know, it is inspired by the thigh temples. So it has a pretty much all gold upper, you have that suede, you have that leather, and you have that nylon on the tongue. The materials on these early and mid 2000s SB Dunks is definitely a lot better in my opinion compared to the ones we get now. And I just really prefer the materials on those early 2000s pairs as well as the colorways that they released. So now we're done with the Dunks, let's go through the LeBrons. So the first one would be the LeBron 18, and this is the Lakers away colorway. So you have black, you have purple, and you have a little bit of white on the midsole. This is the colorway that he used in Game 5 of the NBA Finals. And he was a beast in that game. I think he had like 40 points. It's just that Jimmy Butler refused to lose, so they were able to force a Game 6. But this is definitely my favorite colorway of the LeBron 18. I'm not a huge fan of black, but when you put a black LeBron 18 on foot, it just has this really menacing look, which is why I really like this colorway. Then moving on to the next shoe, we have the LeBron 17, and this is in the Command Force colorway. So if you don't know, the Nike Command Force is a 90s shoe, and it was famously worn by David Robinson, and it also famously appeared on White Man Can't Jump. This is definitely one of my favorite colorways of the LeBron 17, and though the LeBron 17 isn't necessarily the best looking LeBron, I really do like this colorway. It has this nice white, and it has those nice hits of green and orange and red. So once again, the LeBron 17 with those large zoom units and that Air Max 270 unit in the heel. Then for the next shoe, we have what I think is the best LeBron to play in, and it's the LeBron 16. And here I have it in the Equality colorway, which is a mismatched one. So the left shoe is black and the right shoe is in white. I also really do like the message of the colorway because, you know, equality is something that we all strive for, or at least I hope that we all strive for. And the LeBron 16 is just a beast of a shoe. I mean, the traction is super durable and super effective. You have that nice and bouncy full-length max zoom and a super comfy battle knit upper. It also fits really good, so definitely, in my opinion, the best LeBron to hoop in. Then moving on down, we have the LeBron 15 in the cereal colorway. They did make two of these cereal colorways, so I have the darker one, and then there's also a white-based one. I think they both look nice in my opinion, so I don't really mind whether I have this one or the white one. But this does make use of the same max zoom that is on the LeBron 16. It's just that it's not as stable. I mean, it suffers from that problem of having a really stretchy flyknit, because in my opinion, I just never really felt stable in this shoe. Then for the next shoe, we have another Philippine collab on a LeBron, and it is the LeBron 14 Agimat. So once again, it has that really nice blue that we've come to know with the Agimat colorways. You have that 23, you have some symbols in gold, and it's just one of the nicer colorways of the LeBron 14 in my opinion. Although if I am being honest, the LeBron 14 is one of the ugliest LeBron shoes of all time. Then for at least in my own personal opinion, the ugliest LeBron of all time, we have the LeBron 13, and this is in the USA away colorway. So it makes use of that USA blue, red, and white, and I don't know, the LeBron 13, even though it's a pretty nice shoe to play in, is a pretty ugly shoe. The traction and cushion were pretty nice, but like I said, I have a high instep, so this piece of like foam posit that's on the midfoot really did cause me some discomfort. Then for my second favorite LeBron, at least in terms of aesthetics, we have the LeBron 12, and this is in the What the colorway, and this is actually my favorite What the colorway. So if the KD8s a while ago were my least favorite, this is definitely, in my opinion, the best. The LeBron 12 does start out pretty stiff because that material has a lot of plastic. And you also have this foam posit wing, but once you do break it in, I think it's really fun to play in. And at least in my opinion, it's the second best looking LeBron of all time. Then moving on to the next shoe, we have the LeBron 11 in the Summit Lake Hornets colorway. And the LeBron 11 has a feature that no other LeBron has, and that's a full-length drop-in midsole, which actually is made up of Cushlon and full-length zoom. The LeBron 11, in my opinion, is a really good shoe to get, not just because the cushion is so comfy, but because it uses a drop-in midsole, which you can easily transfer over to Kobe shoes. One of my favorite things to do is to take out that drop-in midsole from the LeBron 11 and move it over to my Kobe 8s or Kobe 9s. The shoe itself though is pretty nice, however a lot of people didn't like it because it started out pretty stiff. But just like with the LeBron 12, if you break in the LeBron 11, it does begin to feel a lot better. Then moving on down a row, we have one of the most cushioned LeBrons, so these would be the very bouncy LeBron 10s. And the problem with the LeBron 10s is that they don't really fit everyone that well. Once again, we return to the Fuse era, so it is an all-Fuse shoe, but it does have some cutouts for breathability. But the main draw of the shoe is definitely that full-length exposed zoom, which is definitely one of the bounciest cushions you could ever feel. It doesn't really have flex grooves though, so it's not that flexible of a shoe. But if you are looking for an abundance of cushion, this is a really good shoe. This is also definitely one of the most iconic colorways of any LeBron, so I'm definitely happy that I have the Christmas colorway. Then for the next shoe, we have one of the first LeBrons I've ever owned, and it's the LeBron 9. I did have the Summit Lake Hornets colorway back in the day, but I was able to get the Canon colorway for a good price. And the LeBron 9 is definitely one of the more good-looking LeBrons in my opinion. But if you were to play in these, I don't think it's the best option because the toe part kinda did mess up my forefoot. But it does fit well and the cushion is also pretty comfy. Then for the next shoe, I'm not even gonna attempt to take it out of the box because it's just falling apart. But here we have the LeBron 8 in the Sprite colorway. It's falling apart and I really need to get myself the retro when it does come out. Then for the next shoe, we have the Nike LeBron 7, and the Nike LeBron 7 is my favorite LeBron of all time. My favorite colorway would be the China Moons a while ago, but in very close second would be the Media Day LeBron 7s. The Media Day LeBron 7s is actually one of my only wins on the sneaker site, and it's definitely been a long time since the last time I got a win there. But I'm definitely happy that I have these. It has that mismatched look which I like. The left shoe has the yellow and the right shoe has the purple, and it is just such a nice looking colorway. This is another one of those shoes that I have worn quite a lot, but it's a good thing that the traction is durable so there aren't that many drags. Then for the next shoe, it is probably one of my most expensive shoes in the entire collection. But for the next shoe, we have the Nike LeBron 6. in the St. Vincent St. Mary colorway. I'm not really sure how much these are going for now, but it is a pretty rare shoe because for one, they decided not to retro the LeBron 6 because they retroed the LeBron 1, then the 3, then they jumped to the 7. So it definitely got overlooked, and the St. Vincent St. Mary colorway is definitely one of the rarest ones. It did used to go for around $600 US, so I'm not sure if it got higher or got lower. But this is definitely one of my grails because I really like those St. Vincent St. Mary colorways on the LeBrons. They did start falling apart on me though, so I had these reglued at Kicksomatic. Then moving on to the next row, we have one of the uglier LeBrons as well. And it's actually the LeBron 5, and this is in the crimson and black colorway. So it's like a gladiator boot, and it's a tank of a shoe, but it also does feel pretty heavy because you have actual metal on the shoe. And I'm just not really a fan of the colorway or the look of the shoe. But if I were to pick a colorway to go for, I would either go for the St. Vincent St. Mary colorway or the Mr. Basketball LeBron 5s. Then for the next shoe, this might be another like low-key sleeper because not a lot of people are into collecting LeBrons, but since I do, I am really happy that I have the LeBron 4s. So the colorway of the LeBron 4s that I have is the LeBron 4 Birthday, and it actually comes in a really cool bag and not a shoebox. And a lot of people, when they see these or they see the Hardwood Classics LeBrons, they think it's a Knicks colorway, but it's actually inspired by those old school Cavs jerseys that use blue, orange, and white. The LeBron 4 is another tank of a shoe, but it is pretty comfy on foot, and when you eventually break in that foamposite shell, it actually fits well around your foot. This is another one of those LeBrons that I have are kind of hard to find, so I'm definitely happy and I'm definitely keeping these for a long time. Then for the next shoe, we have a retro, and it's the LeBron 3 in the Midnight Navy colorway. And the LeBron 3 is actually super comfy. You have full-length zoom, and you have a synthetic upper, but it is pretty soft and pretty comfy on foot. It is pretty tank-like as well, but at least you have really good traction. And you have full-length zoom, so it's still pretty bouncy and responsive. I do wear this shoe quite a lot, and I honestly have been pretty tempted to double up, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet, so for now, this is my only pair. Then for my last LeBron, I don't have the LeBron 2. I've really been looking hard for one, but it's never materialized. So we'll just skip over the 2 for now, and we have the LeBron Zoom Generation 1 in one of the OG colorways, which is the black, white, and red. There are definitely quite a few more iconic colorways. You have the wheats, which he used in the All-Star Weekend, and you have those white and blacks, which he used in his first ever NBA game. I do like this colorway though because it really kind of imitates a Hummer, which is what the LeBron Zoom Generation was modeled after. Then now that we're done with the LeBrons, let's move on to the Kobes. So for the first Kobe, we have the Kobe 11 EM, and we have it in the bright mango colorway. I do like the Kobe 11 EM a lot more than the Elite because it fits my foot so much better and it has better traction in my opinion. There were a lot of really good colorways, but you know, I like bright colors, so this bright mango colorway is definitely one of my favorites. Then moving on to the next row, we have the Kobe 10, and I don't have any like actual release colorways of the Kobe 10. Instead, what I have is a ID pair of Kobe 10s. It has this really nice yellow on the upper. Kobe 10 is definitely far from my favorite Kobe to play in, but at least with this Flyknit upper and with the cushion that it has, it's a pretty comfy shoe if you're just walking around casually. Then for the next shoe, we have the Kobe 9. I did show you guys my Kobe 9 from a while ago, which was the high cut. But here we have the Kobe 9 EM Low in the Dusty Cactus colorway. I did get this from a close friend who sells a lot of Kobe's, and I'm just happy that I have a pair that's like this well maintained because it's really hard to find a pair of Kobe 9s that weren't beat up. I think I did see DeMar DeRozan wearing this last week, so definitely one of the colorways of the Kobe 9 that I really like. Then for my personal favorite Kobe's of all time, we have the Nike Kobe 8. It's also one of the lightest Kobe's of all time, and I really do like this Blitz Blue colorway, but I also used to own a graffiti colorway, and there were definitely so many colorways that were super nice. You had the What Does, which is definitely on the bucket list, but for now I'm definitely happy that I have the Blitz Blue. Then for the next shoe, you have the Kobe 7, and this was supposedly the next one to be pro-troed, but of course the whole situation with Nike and the Kobe estate happened, so sadly I don't think we're gonna get a pro-tro. And I'm definitely really sad because my Kobe 7s are falling apart. But here we have the shark colorway, and the thing that I liked about the Kobe 7s is that there was like an animal pack. So you had like a cheetah, you had the shark colorway, you had the wolf, you had the poison dart frog, and those were just all really cool colorways. And the Kobe 7 is definitely, in my opinion, one of the best looking Kobe's. It is also the worst performing Kobe, but you know, it is what it is. Then for the next shoe, is probably the best Kobe to play in at the moment, and it is the Nike Kobe 6 Pro Throw. I do have the Grinch colorway, and I'm just super happy I got this for retail because after the expiration of Kobe's contract with Nike, these really just skyrocketed in price and it's just insane. I'm definitely not selling these because this is just one of the most iconic colorways of Kobe's ever, and I just hope that someday those resale prices go down so that other people who weren't able to hit on these for retail can get them for a good price. Then for the next row, we have the Nike Kobe 5 Pro Throw. And I did show you my Bruce Lee colorway, which is one of my favorites. But for my personal favorite colorway of the Kobe 5, we have the Kobe 5 Pro Throw Chaos. The Chaos colorway is just such a smooth design. You have that iridescent paneling on the shoe, you have that vault green on the outsole and Nike swoosh, and you have that white to kind of tie everything in. You also have that red splatter on the midsole and the heel counter, and I think that's definitely one of the best touches on the shoe. It's also really good to play in, but like I said, resale prices on these are really high, so just hoping they go down in the near future. Then for the next shoe, it's actually one of those pairs that I paid resale for, and I haven't really paid resale for any shoe because I don't like resellers. So I actually do think I went like 6 months without buying anything for resale price. But one of the last ones that I did pay resale for was the Kobe 4 Pro Throw Undefeated in the Phoenix Suns colorway. The player who did wear this the most was Devin Booker for the Phoenix Suns, and it's definitely one of the best colorways of the Kobe 4 Pro Throw in my opinion. It has that bright orange upper, that black Nike swoosh, and hits of purple on the branding and the sock liner. The Kobe 4 is also in my opinion one of the best looking Kobe's of all time, so even if I did pay resale for these, I do wear it a lot, and it's definitely one of my most used Kobe shoes. Then for the next shoe, this is a pretty old one, and it's the Kobe 3 in the Fade to Black colorway. And it does actually show its age because it is yellowing on the outsole. And the Kobe 3 is definitely one of the most interesting looking Kobe's because it is a high cut and it has this sort of basketball net pattern on the upper. And for me, this is definitely more of a collection piece because I don't really plan on playing basketball in these, just because I've never enjoyed the traction on the Kobe 3. Then for the next shoe, we have another Fade to Black Kobe, and we have the Kobe 2 Fade to Black. And the Kobe 2 is actually a pretty nice looking Kobe in my opinion, especially in the right colorway. But I also wouldn't hoop in these because I don't like that strap on my ankle. But I am definitely happy that I have this in my collection, especially since they didn't Pro Throw the 2s and the 3s. Then for the last Kobe, we have the Nike Kobe 1. And the colorway I have is a very iconic one since you have the Kobe 1 81 points. The Kobe 1 81 points was worn on that fateful day where he torched Toronto and really gave them the business by scoring 81 points. The Pro Throw Kobe 1 is definitely one of the best shoes to play in, and this colorway in my opinion is just so iconic because Kobe scoring 81 points is definitely one of the most, if not the most impressive individual performance in NBA history. So now that we're done with the LeBrons and the Kobe's, I will move the camera down so we can take a look at the J's. Okay, so now we finally made it to my Jordans. So we do have Jordans 1 through 35. Okay, so now for the last part, we have my Jordan collection, and we do have the Jordans 1 through 35. However, I am missing a few. So I'm missing the Jordan 21, the Jordan 22, the Jordan 2009, the 2011, and the Jordan 28. And the Jordan 28 is a pretty odd one because I can find some online. It's just they aren't in really good condition because the Jordan 28 was a really good shoe to play in. So starting it off with the most recent one, so we have the Jordan 35. And the Jordan 35 colorway that I have is the Titan collaboration. And it's just kind of amazing that a Filipino brand has a Jordan collaboration. I mean, it's pretty special given that the Philippines is a basketball crazy country. This Jordan 35 Titan is one of my favorite colorways as well. And the only colorway that I'd really put above this would be Rui Hachimura's sort of like PE, which if I remember correctly was exclusive to Japan. Then for the next shoe, we have what's probably one of the best Jordans of recent memory to play in, and it is the Jordan 34. So the colorway that I have is the infrared Jordan 34. And it's definitely another bright shoe, so I do like my bright shoes. And it's just such an awesome shoe to play in. I did have the white and black or fire red colorway, and I just kind of beat those to the ground because the traction was superb, the cushion was amazing, and the upper was just super lightweight, so you really did feel fast and explosive in the Jordan 34. Then for the Jordan 33, we actually have a low, and I think this is my only low-cut Jordan in my collection. So the reason why I got the Jordan 33 low is that the Jordan 33, like the regular one or the mid, was quite uncomfortable on my foot. The Jordan 33 SE low definitely fit my foot better, but it still wasn't that amazing of a shoe. I mean, it did feel a little bottom heavy because you have that whole system for the lacing. But if you ask me, the standout feature is that kind of teacup pull tab. I mean, it's definitely by far the largest heel pull tab I've ever seen. Then moving on, we have the Jordan 32, and this is in the last shot colorway. So it's a pretty much bread sort of look. You have the details inspired by the last shot Jordan 14, so you have that Ferrari. I mean, you actually have the date of the last shot, so it's June 14, 1998, and it's on this tab behind the tongue. Then moving on, we have the Black Cat Jordan 31. And the Jordan 31 is definitely the biggest what if in my opinion in terms of the Jordans, because the upper was super comfy and then you had full length zoom, but the traction was just so bad, like it squeaks a lot, but you're not really gripping the floor and it just sucks, like you slide out in this shoe all the time. So definitely a shoe that if it had decent traction would have been one of the best shoes of all time in my opinion. Then moving on to the next row, you have the Jordan 30. And it's also in the Black Cat colorway. And the Jordan 30 is pretty interesting. I mean, it doesn't really fit well for me. It's pretty narrow. And I actually had to go up half a size in the Jordan 30. It did use a lot of the same tooling as the Jordan 28 and the Jordan 29. But for some reason, the upper just didn't fit as well. And the cushion and the traction just weren't at the same level as the 29 and the 28. You also did have that rough sock liner that also was on the Achilles pillows. So this was definitely a shoe that would give people a lot of blisters. Then for the next shoe, we have the Jordan 29. And this is definitely one of my go-tos in terms of Jordans to play basketball in. And here we have the hair colorway, which is my favorite. It just has such a unique look to it. You have that purple on the midsole. You have that geometric pattern that's kind of inspired by the tongue of the Jordan 7. You have that mix of nice colors with that purple, that green, and that orange. I also really like that massive jump man here on the lateral side because it was just something so different, and the kicker here is that this was also an awesome shoe to play in, so it's definitely high up on my list in terms of Jordans. Then for the next shoe, we have the Jordan 2012 because like I said, I don't have the 28s with me. And the 2012 was a very interesting shoe because you had multiple options. I do have two of the inner sleeves, but I always just use the low-cut one without the strap. And you also had those 3 drop-in midsoles, but I used my flyover midsole, which I think is the full-length Air. It was definitely kind of gimmicky having 3 separate insoles and 2 inner sleeves, but I do think they executed that gimmick quite well. So I'm definitely gonna give them credit for that. It's just that that whole interchangeable system didn't really last. Then for the next shoe, we have the Jordan 2010. And this was the shoe that was most notably worn by Dwayne Wade when he was still with Jordan. And it's definitely a pretty polarizing shoe because for one, it has that kind of see-through circle, which a lot of people didn't like because for one, it did get foggy. As you can see, my pair kind of has yellowed. But if you take the looks out of the equation, I think the Jordan 2010 was a pretty nice shoe because it fit pretty well, it had good cushion, and it had good traction as well. Then for the next shoe, we have the Jordan 23, and this is another Titan collaboration, and it actually came like with the Jordan 35. So we have the Jordan 23 Titan, and I think this is definitely one of the best colorways of the Jordan 23, even though it technically is a new colorway. For the Jordan 23s, I definitely have these in my top 3, as well as those all red Jordan 23s and the finales. I do like that lightning bolt pattern on the leather as well as those gold pins. And the Jordan 23 in my opinion is definitely one of the best looking Jordans. It's just that, you know, with all of this plastic on the midsole, it is a pretty stiff shoe, especially when you haven't broken it in. Really dope collaboration though, and since it was a Titan collaboration, you know, I had to get it. Then for the next shoe, we have another shoe that is pretty uncomfortable on my foot, and it is the Jordan 20. So we have here the Jordan 20 in the stealth colorway, which is the most popular colorway of the Jordan 20. And the thing that really annoys me is this strap on the ankle. And it's always been so weird because it's just attached here at the heel, which is why if I ever get the chance to buy a Jordan 20 though, I'm definitely going for it. But it is pretty hard to find those, so at least I have these. Then for the next shoe, we have my first Flint Gray colorway or Flint colorway of the Jordans. So these are the Jordan 19 Flints or the Jordan 19 Mellows. These did come out a few years ago, and I think they did sit for quite a while, but eventually they sold out, and I'm just happy that someone kind of kept a pair fresh, and I was able to buy these from them. The Jordan 19 has a very unique look because you have that sort of fencing shield on the front, and it's also definitely a pain in the ass to put on because you have that strap that wraps all the way around to the heel. But once you're in, this is a pretty nice shoe to play in. It fits really well. You have a very stable base because not only do you have an outrigger here at the forefoot, but you have one at the heel as well. Then for the next shoe, we have the last shoe that Michael Jordan played in, and that is the Jordan 18. So the Jordan 18 that I have is in the yellow ochre colorway, which is an all suede version of the Jordan 18. And of course, I definitely want to have the white and blue ones that he used in the Wizards. But I really did enjoy this yellow ochre one as well as the other colorway, which was more of an orange, because it just feels like such a premium shoe. I mean, it is all suede on the entire upper. Plus you have that nice cushion with that full-length zoom, which is double stacked in the heel. So at least in terms of Jordans, this is definitely one of the most premium shoes. Then for the next shoe, we have the Jordan 17. And the colorway I have is the copper, and the version is the Jordan 17 Plus. So the Plus version is just the one without that strap on the midfoot, which I do prefer because, like I said a million times, straps and me don't get along. The copper colorway is one of the most iconic colorways of the Jordan 17, and at least in my opinion, it is for a good reason because you have that black, that white, and you have that copper that kind of just pops. And overall, it's a nice looking silhouette. It actually plays pretty decent on court, and is also, in many people's opinion, the best shoe that Jordan played in with the Wizards. Then for the next shoe, we have what's probably my most limited shoe, and these are my trophy room Jordan 16s. And here you have it. It's pretty much all blue. And the resale prices on these aren't too crazy, but it's definitely not the reason I bought it. I just really like that all blue look, and I am a fan of the Jordan 16, even though not a lot of other people are. But I do think the Jordan 16 looks pretty badass, especially when you wear it without the shroud. The pair that I have is pair 3004 out of 5000. So that definitely makes it feel like it's a special pair, and I do actually wear it quite a bit because, like I said, I love that blue color. Then moving on to the next shoe, we have what's probably the ugliest Air Jordan of all time, and just comment down below if you agree. But we have the stealth colorway of the Jordan 15, and the Jordan 15 was inspired by a fighter jet, hence this weird looking tongue. But it's definitely, in my opinion, the most jarring Jordan, and it didn't help with the popularity that this was the first one after his retirement. So it's definitely something that mostly just Jordan collectors can appreciate, and most people who aren't sneakerheads will definitely stay the hell away from these. Then for the next shoe, it is a pretty iconic one because we have the Jordan 14 in the last shot colorway. So this was the shoe that Jordan used to hit that shot in Game 6 of the '98 finals over the Utah Jazz. This is the only colorway that he was able to use on court, because for the majority of the '98 season, he was rocking the 13s, but for the finals and that Game 6, he was wearing these. It is also a surprisingly good shoe to play in, and if you're in the mood to hit a go-ahead basket over Brian Russell, this is definitely the shoe to go with. Then for the next shoe, we have the Jordan 13s, and the funny thing about this colorway and this shoe is that my girlfriend just absolutely hates the Jordan 13, but I really do like the 13s, especially in this Flint colorway. The Flint Jordan 13 is kind of what set off the whole Flint craze, and we've seen the Flint colorway on like, I think 8 Jordans or like maybe 10. But this was the first Flint colorway, and in my opinion, it is also the best. The Jordan 13 is also, in my opinion, the best retro Jordan to play in because you have herringbone on the outsole and it's also nice and stable. You have zoom in the forefoot and in the heel, and you have a pretty soft and nice feeling upper. Then for the next shoe, we do have another candidate for the best retro Jordan to play in, and that would be the Jordan 12. I think this colorway was called the dark gray Jordan 12, but it definitely looks pretty similar to the Flint Grey 12s that released in the early 2000s. The only difference, I think, is these silver portions because I think they used to be gray. But this is one of my most worn Air Jordans because for one, it's really comfy. You have that full-length zoom for the cushion, and you have an all-leather upper. These shoes are also tanked, so they're pretty durable. So if you want a really comfy and durable Jordan, the Jordan 12 is definitely a great option. Then, like I said a while ago, a lot of people do say that the Jordan 11 Bred is the greatest shoe of all time. But I don't necessarily agree with that because, in my opinion, it isn't the best colorway of the Jordan 11. So for my pick of the best colorway of the Jordan 11, it would have to be the Jordan 11 Concord. I think it just might be because I don't like all black shoes, and though the Bread 11s aren't all black, they are mostly black, so at least for my taste, I much rather have the Concord 11s. The Concord 11 is just so classy. You have that white ballistic nylon on the top, you have that black patent leather, that white outsole, and that icy translucent bottom. With the recent 2018 release, you also had that 45 at the back, which is a callback to when he first used this shoe in the 1995 Eastern Playoffs against the Orlando Magic. Then for the next shoe, we have my favorite colorway of the Jordan 10s, which is the steel colorway. So the steel colorway is one of the OG colorways of the Jordan 10, and as you can see, my pair is pretty old and pretty beat up, and I actually had a newer pair which was the Seattle colorway, but I sold those to my friend Nico because I found these steel Jordan 10 at a good price. The thing I like about this particular colorway is that those nylon cables have that steel gray, which in my opinion gives the shoe a lot more character because the Jordan 10 is a pretty simple looking shoe. This is also one of the underrated retro Jordans to play in. I mean, you do have full length air, and though the outsole doesn't look like it'll work, it actually does work pretty well. Then for the next shoe, this is actually my go-to Jordan if I'm doing like groceries or have a quick errand, and it's this Jordan 9 in the gym red colorway. This isn't one of the OG colors of the Jordan 9, but I do like how they used patent leather on the rand, and the reason why I use this shoe so much is because of that speed lacing system. I mean, if I just have to do a quick errand, it is just super easy to get my foot in there and to lace these shoes up, so it's definitely one of my most worn Jordans in my entire collection. It's not that comfy though, so don't get it twisted, but you know, it's just super convenient because it's fast to lace up. Then for the next shoe, you go from that speed lacing to a shoe that takes forever to put on, and it's the Air Jordan 8 in the Bugs Bunny colorway. The Jordan 8 is a pretty unique looking Jordan because it's the only one with these cross straps, which does make it a little bit of a pain in the ass to get on, but once you're in the shoe, it's definitely one of the best fitting Jordans of all time. The cushion is pretty lackluster though because they use polyurethane, but the traction is pretty good and it's super durable, and I am happy that I have the Bugs Bunny colorway, which is one of the OGs. Then for the next shoe, we do have one of my most recent Jordan pickups, so we have the Jordan 7 Flint, and as you've noticed, I do have quite a few Flint Air Jordans, and the Jordan 7 is definitely one of my favorites. The Jordan 7 Flint just retroed for the first time since 2006, and though they are pretty much sitting on shelves in all sizes, I am definitely happy that I got this pair. In my opinion, it is the third best colorway of all time, just behind the Olympic 7s and the Cardinal 7s. The Jordan 7 is actually pretty comfy on foot, and if I were to play in a Jordan 7 with polyurethane, this is probably my top choice. Then for the next shoe, we have the Jordan 6 in the Carmine colorway, and this is just... whew. This is a shoe that I still can't believe I have because there were a lot of people trying for this shoe, and the Jordan 6 in the Carmine colorway in my opinion is hands down the best among all of the Jordan 6s. I just love the color blocking with that Carmine red and the white on the overlays. You have the signature lace lock, and of course you have that Nike Air on the back. I am also happy that I got the 9.5, so it definitely fits me a lot better than my DMP 6s. Then for the last row, here we have the Fire Red Silver Tongue Jordan 5s, and these actually sit quite a long time because I think a lot of people wanted the Black Tongue Fire Reds with the 23 on the heel, but for me personally, these are just as good as those. You have that nice and immaculate white upper, those red fighter plane teeth that are signature to the Jordan 5, and once again you have that Nike Air on the back. The Jordan 5 is another one of my favorites. I like wearing them with the laces kind of just dangling out, and in my opinion it's just super easy to pull off, especially with some joggers. Then for the next shoe, we have the Jordan 4 in the metallic orange colorway. So this Jordan 4 is part of a collection where you have 4 metallic colorways. You have the orange, you have the red, you have the green, and you have the purple. This was inspired by that OG Jordan 1 metallic pack, and given that orange is my favorite color, I'm happy that I was able to get the metallic orange version. It is one of the cleaner Jordan 7 colorways in my opinion because it is all white, but you do have those nice hits of orange with those metallic pieces here on the lace ground as well as the Jumpman at the back. I do rock these quite a lot, it's just that I try to keep them clean because Jordan 4s, especially here at the netting, tend to yellow. Then for the next shoe, like I said, I don't think that the Jordan 11 Bread is the best shoe of all time. And maybe I'm biased because the Jordan 3 is my favorite Jordan of all time. But if you were to ask me, personally, what is, in my opinion, the best Jordan of all time, it would have to be the Jordan 3 in the Black Cement colorway. The Jordan 3 Black Cement, in my opinion, is just a god tier shoe. I mean, it's a Jordan 3, which is definitely plus points in my book. And it's just, in my opinion, such a wearable shoe. You can rock these with shorts, you can rock these with joggers, you can rock them with jeans. And though I'm not too fond of black, I think it works really well with the black cement because you have that black cement and that gray at the tongue and that white on the midsole to really balance everything out. This is the 2018 retro and the materials are pretty nice. The only thing I wish for the next retro of the black cement 3 is that they trim down the toe a little bit more to make it closer to the OG shape. So I don't know about everyone else, but at least for me, you really can't go wrong with the black cement 3s, and you also have that Nike Air on the back. So the black cement 3, definitely a GOAT level shoe. Then for the next shoe, we have sort of the black sheep of the early Air Jordans because they're really not popular and they always did seem to make its way to the outlets. But here we have the Jordan 2, and this is definitely my second favorite colorway of the Jordan 2. Of course, the first one would be that OG white and red colorway. And in my opinion, the Jordan 2 is severely underrated because it is a super comfy shoe. It's way more comfy in my opinion than the Jordan 1 or the Jordan 3 because it does have a full-length air unit. The overall shape and look of the shoe also isn't too bad. I mean, a lot of people don't like this piece, but I actually like it. And in this colorway, it's actually Melo's PE from his Denver Nuggets days, and it is just super fresh in my opinion. I know the Denver Nuggets are trying to pay homage to those 80s and 90s teams with their recent jerseys. I know the Denver Nuggets are trying to pay homage to those 80s and 90s teams with their city jerseys, but they definitely need to bring those baby blue, yellow, and white joints back. So for our second to the last shoe, we have the Jordan 2 Melo. Then for the last shoe, drum roll please, we have the iconic and ever popular and way too hyped at this moment, Jordan 1. I think the Jordan 1 has been retroed in every single colorway that you can imagine, and still to this day, the Jordan 1 just instantly sells out. The hype and popularity on the Jordan 1s is just insane for a shoe that came out in 1985 to still be selling out and having crazy resale values in 2021. It's just one of the most iconic shoes of all time. And it really just spans beyond people who are sneakerheads. Like people who don't know anything about basketball or sneakers know about the Jordan 1 and may even have pairs of Jordan 1s. So it's just one of those timeless silhouettes that'll always be in rotation and it will always be beloved. I do have the Royal Toe colorway, and though it isn't an OG colorway, I really do like the shoe. And as you can see from all of the creasing, I do wear this a lot. And with the Jordan 1, you really just can't go wrong. So there you have it guys, that's my entire sneaker collection. Like I said a while ago, comment your top 3 shoes from my collection and you will have the chance to win a pair of Kyrie 7s or a pair of PG 5s or a pair of Zion 1s or Dame 7s. That was pretty tiring and I'm sorry that the video was kind of long, but I do hope you enjoyed it. And once again, if you haven't already yet, please make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. It would help us out a lot here at Sneaks and Ball, PH.